We're in Yonkers, where Legislator Chris Johnson owns an affordable housing condo.
But he also moved into a house outside the district he's elected to serve. CBS 2's Tony Aiello has details and reaction.
The house in Yonkers' Homecrest neighborhood has a welcome mat, home of the Johnson family. But 16th District County Legislator Chris Johnson does not welcome scrutiny of his residency. He spoke Wednesday on Facebook Live.
This is politics at its worst, politics at its ugliest.
Johnson is facing questions on two fronts. In 2010, he purchased an affordable housing unit located in the 16th Legislative District, certifying last May it was his primary residence. 10 days later, Johnson signed papers to purchase this $800,000 house a mile away in the 15th Legislative District, certifying it was his primary residence. The county charter requires legislators to live in the district where they were elected. Johnson's primary opponent says he no longer does and must resign.
He knows that the law says that you're supposed to live in your district. He knows that it's a violation and you'll be forfeiting your seat to move out of the district that you were elected to serve. But instead, he goes online and he's unraveling and blaming everybody else.
Meanwhile, the Yonkers Inspector General is looking at issues related to Johnson's ownership in this affordable housing complex.
The individual is supposed to reside in the unit for which they've gotten the benefits. So if they're no longer residing there, then there's an issue.
Or whatever ridiculous investigation or story they're going to put out next.
Johnson did not directly address the concerns on Facebook or respond to emailed questions. Vedat Gashi, the chair of the county board, says he's waiting for a legal opinion regarding Johnson continuing to represent the 16th district after moving into the 15th district. In Yonkers, Tony Aiello, CBS 2.
And late today, Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano asked the Inspector General.
Can someone just ask the Yonkers voice why? Anyway, have a blessed day.
I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Happy Monday. It's the Rush Hour Report. Christopher Johnson submitting his resignation letter to the Board of Legislators, officially resigning. Officially, right? Technically, I guess he had resigned once he moved into his new home. Once he moved out of the district, according to the charter, he vacated his seat. So it's official now that he submitted his resignation letter. It's been a hard, how many months for Chris Johnson now? I mean, we saw this unravel. I don't know if Chris Johnson is unraveling, like Shanae Williams says, but we've seen his career, at least as a legislator, unravel. And it's starting with a housing crisis, or scandal, I should say. We have a housing crisis, but this is a housing scandal. And if you don't know, Chris Johnson lied about where he was living. He purchased a home outside of his district and was leasing a condo he had on North Broadway, which he purchased using an affordable housing program. So I guess he was not allowed to do that. And he was supposed to notify that he was no longer there, so they can then, I guess, sell it to someone else who qualifies for these housing programs, home ownership programs. But instead, he was leasing it to his brother-in-law for $1,500 a month. But he stated on his mortgage application for the home that he just purchased that he would be leasing it for $2,500 a month. It was an investment property. And so that was factored in and calculated into his yearly income in order to qualify for the mortgage. So will that give him a problem with his mortgage company? He lied on there. He was actually only collecting $1,500, and now he's not collecting anything. It's zero. He has to give up the apartment. And in order to, I guess, prevent an investigation from moving forward, Chris Johnson has submitted a letter of resignation. I want to read an article from the Yonkers Ledger, and I feel bad for Chris Johnson. I do. I want to read an article here from the Ledger. Chris Johnson resigned as Westchester legislator ends ending need for residency investigation. Well, I guess it's the residency part. Maybe there are other investigations that may continue into, signing the documents with false information on them. Let's see how far the Yonkers Inspector General will take it. Westchester County Legislator Chris Johnson, who purchased a home outside of his district, sparked investigations by the Yonkers Inspector General and the Board of Legislators, has resigned his seat midway through the last year of his third term. His resignation came 9 weeks after a Tax Watch investigation detailed how the Yonkers political leader no longer lived in his district or in his North Broadway affordable condominium in the 16th Legislative District after he and his wife purchased a new home. And they tell the price $707,000 here in 15th District. And I asked someone about this, and I said, what was he thinking? Why would he do that, knowing that he would, risk his seat? And they said because of the district lines, they would be changing next year, and he was hoping that the change would happen before anyone noticed. But I guess it didn't work out that way. In his resignation letter, Johnson said he did so both with a sense of accomplishment and sadness. Wrote Johnson, while no elected official serves forever, it continues to be my hope that the work I have been blessed to be a part of continues to flourish and transform the lives of people throughout Westchester County. It is that focus, the people of this county, that leads me to this point. At this time, my service has become an interference on centering the improvement of this county. Board Chair Vidat Gashi, in a statement, thanked Johnson for his service to Westchester. We have a responsibility as elected representatives to serve in the best interests of our constituents, said Gashi, a Democrat of Yorktown. While we understand that Legislator Johnson's decision to resign was not an easy one for him to make, we believe it was the correct one and serves the best interests of the constituents of the 16th District. News of this resignation letter bubbled up Monday morning as the Board Rules Committee prepared for a meeting at 1 p.m. The panel was expected to announce the hiring of an investigator, to determine whether Johnson had vacated his legislative seat by moving to 15th District. So I guess he figured he'd resign before this investigation moved forward. Obviously, that's saying it all right there, right? The resignation was a decided blow to Johnson, 38, and his wife, Ty, a senior advisor to State Attorney General Letitia James. Together, they were ranked 60th in the city and state Westchester's Power 100 in 2022, which noted this pair may be Westchester's most powerful political power couple. The resignation came 2 weeks after the board's Democratic caucus stripped Johnson of his title as majority leader and his $12,000 a year stipend. Johnson's move outside his legislative district fueled Yonkers City Councilwoman Shanae Williams' campaign to wrest the Democratic nomination from Johnson, a former aide to State Senator Andrea Stewart Cousin. Williams beat Johnson decisively in June 27th. This is actually Yahoo News, not the Ledger. Primary winning 61% of the votes to 39% when she beat Johnson in the Democratic primary last month. William, who had called for Johnson's resignation during the primary campaign, said she was glad Johnson decided to step down. This is the thing with Shanae. She talks a lot of shit. This is why I don't like Shanae. You talk a lot of shit. It's one thing, I may criticize certain elected officials, like maybe Anthony Merante, right? But I still genuinely like Anthony Merante, right? But Shanae's full of crap, right? She acts like her stuff don't stink. And that's the biggest problem. Like, just stay quiet. You don't need to add anything to it. You don't have to say a word, Shanae. Just stay quiet and gracefully take over the seat, because that's what's going to happen now, right? She won, and they're going to need to replace Johnson. And so she's going to step on up. But she has to just, really do it, doesn't she? That's the thing about her. It's a good decision to save taxpayers' dollars by resigning and not forcing the county to do another investigation. But she's such a hypocrite. I mean, I can go down a laundry list of how she's wasted taxpayer money, but I won't. He disappointed the community. He lied to the community. I'm happy to see he is finally taking responsibility for his actions. Shanae Williams. Legislator James Nolan, Republican Yonkers, said It was time for the board to move beyond its latest scandal. In late April, then board chair Catherine Borgia of Ossining resigned as chair after she was criticized for failing to act quicker to discipline a board employee caught up in a vigilante sting operation in which he communicated with someone he thought was a 14-year-old girl. And by the way, Shanae Williams was very critical of Johnson on this specifically, even though the guy worked for the entire board, right? No one else got criticized. Ruros of the Yonkers Voice, who Shanae Williams continued to engage in business with, supports his business, admitted to touching and kissing a 14-year-old girl, right? He pled guilty to this, and I've shared the information. Okay, so there's actual information there. I'm not making this up. And he also had child pornography, yet they still engage with them. So the hypocrisy in Shanae Williams and other elected officials. See, this is what bothers me. I would like to thank my colleague, Chris Johnson, in making the difficult yet righteous decision to resign. He said, that's more respectful, Nolan. Thank you. His decision will allow me and my colleagues to diligently work towards regaining the public's trust after a turbulent period of scandals. And I can't blame him for saying that, right? I mean, it's been one thing after another with that dude and the young girl, and then the Catherine Borgia thing, and then now Johnson, right? And it's not like this is someone making something up on Johnson. Johnson just made a bad decision, and they took full advantage of that, right? It took the opportunity to just nail him. But Somers Republican Dan Branda, who is challenging Gashi in November, said the board was too quick to shut down its inquiry. He called on the county to dig deeper, noting that Johnson vacated his seat a year ago when he moved from his apartment on North Broadway, rented it to his brother-in-law, moved to his new home on Rose Hill Terrace, and later backed the redistricting plan that added his new home to the 16th district. So that's why he backed it, right? He was hoping that he would get his home in there and he can, everything would just blow over. Right. He wants the county to claw back Johnson's legislative pay of $87,000 over the past year. Oh, damn, Johnson, it just don't stop for Chris Johnson. He called that district attorney Mimi Roca to investigate. He should have vacated the seat a year ago, Brenda said. He maintained the seat under false pretense. He knew better. Wow. So they want to take money back. Johnson served 3 terms in the Yonkers City Council before his election to the County Board of Legislators in 2017. He took the board seat vacated by Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins, who remained a political mentor. The Johnsons moved up the hill to Rose Hill Terrace in July 2022, backfired for the Westchester power couple. It emboldened Williams' fledgling campaign. She was troubled by the Board of Legislators' vote in the fall of 2022 to change the district lines for the 16th County Legislative District as of January 1st, 2024, to include Johnson's new residents months after he and his wife had moved to Rose Hill Terrace. Several of Johnson's colleagues said they were unaware of his new home was located outside 16th District, who then chaired the Democratic Majority Caucus's meeting, denied influencing the redistricting process to include his new home in the redrawn 16th. The board was preparing to spend as much as $30,000 to investigate whether Johnson vacated his seat when he moved to his new home. It is an unprecedented action by the Board of Legislators since it was established in 1970. Again, the IG of Yonkers is going to look into the condo and all that stuff. So it's really not ending here for Chris Johnson. I mean, people are trying to nail this guy. And everyone's looking to make a political name for themselves. You got this person who's challenging Vidak Gashi, and they want to go further, and they actually want to get that money back from the past year that Chris Johnson was not living in his district, $87,000. So you just bought a new home, almost $800,000 home, right? You used an apartment that you no longer have as as a supportive income in order to qualify for that mortgage, right? $2,500 a month. It was actually $15,000. Now it's $0. Now they want their $87,000 back. The Yonkers Inspector General is still going to investigate possibly his, lie about where he was living, and false documents that he signed in regards to his residency. So this could get even worse for Christopher Johnson And so, again, I don't know how far they're going to go with this. I mean, hopefully, he's done. He's out of there. The seat is vacated. Shanae Williams is probably going to go and take his seat. And then they will need to appoint someone to take over Shanae Williams' seat on the council, right? She's representing District 1 of the Yonkers City Council. Deanna Robinson has pretty much won. I don't know. Did someone challenge? Yes, I think Deanna Robinson won her campaign. So her primary. So she may be ultimately appointed to take over Shanae Williams' seat on the council as Shanae Williams takes over Johnson. That it's crazy. I know Chris Johnson, we've talked many times. And so, when you know somebody, I know him a certain way, listen, but it's always been a positive thing, so you feel bad for the guy. He's got a family, like I said, I don't rejoice in someone's downfall, right? I don't rejoice in people, having, going through a hard time or, something negative, in someone's life happening. I don't, regardless of what, that's not who I am. There are people out there that do. They don't care. They will, taunt you. They will go online and ridicule you or whatever's going on. And I think that's just what Shanae Williams is doing there. So Shanae, you don't have to kind of, add insult to injury, right? Don't add salt to the wound. And that's what she's doing there. And I don't like that. I don't like her at all for that. Anthony Merante, let's move on. Anthony Merante, the Republican. Who likes Anthony Merante? Our county legislator is a mess. 2 scandals in a short time. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why, I like what County Legislator James Nolan had to say in that, he appreciates Johnson resigning, not dragging this out so they can move forward and try to regain the public's trust in the Board of Legislators. So he was happy for that. So I like the way he, what he had to say and the way that he did it, unlike Shanae Williams, who, just had to just be even more vicious about it. So I respect that, James Nolan, for the words that you said there. And it's very true. Like you said, it's a mess. And they need to move on. So it is the right thing by Chris Johnson to resign. It's good for him. It's good for the Board of Legislators. It's good for the constituents. It's just the right thing to do. Just get out of the public's eye, Chris. Try to deal with this on the low, in your private, life, and, I wish you the best of luck with that. And hopefully, it won't be too crazy. Anthony Merante was at City Hall today holding a press conference, and News 12 actually showed up. News 12 showed up for this, but they didn't show up for the missing boy. Come on, News 12, But this is important as well. Not as important as a missing child, though. But this is important as well. And Anthony Merante was on the steps of City Hall to discuss the term limits. Again, term limits. Anthony Merante, he's running for mayor of the city of Yonkers. He's a Republican, and he is fighting to restore term limits. So he announced today that he got a new line. He's going to be on 2 lines. He's going to be a Republican party line, and he's also going to be on the newly created Restore Term Limit line. I think that's how you call it. You can check it out at restoretermlimits.com. And so you can either vote for Anthony Merante on the Republican line, or you can vote for Anthony Merante on the Restore Term Limit line, right? And then that way you can say that, hey, I want term limits, to be restored. So Anthony says when he wins that he is going to amend the charter and restore term limits to 2 4-year terms. That's what the voters initially have voted for, and that's what he wants to put it back to when he wins. He says when he wins. And I asked Anthony Merante, how do you feel about your campaign? You have to grab some voters that may not normally vote for you, vote Republican. How are you working to engage those individuals? But here he is speaking to News 12. I'll just let you, if you can hear. Sorry about that. I got to get my mic. Is it me?
I've done my part. I've shown people this term limit for all intents and purposes.
I talked to Anthony Merante.
They don't care anymore. This is to me, and I
Says, the Spano machine.
and on so this 22nd of last year, the council voted.
I'm sorry about that.
Very simple. November 22nd of last year, the council voted 4-3 to extend term limits to 4 4-year terms. From that moment on, I pledged that I would fight to get back that term limits. I created a couple of initiatives. We got a ballot, petition. I'm sorry, ballot petition. Collected almost 5,000 signatures, submitted to the clerk's office. It's been 2 weeks. I haven't heard back yet. So that process is probably going. It's basically dead because of the curing process of the whole process.
It's like a 9-day curing process.
9 day. So then I put in the legislation early June. That said, hey, we as a council can do this. They put it into a committee, and it's sitting in that committee. They didn't pull it out. So there's 2 initiatives that are being held up by the city council and the city clerk's office. So that didn't stop me. I still went out and I got the signatures for an independent party line called Restore Term Limits. Now that is approved. It is on the ballot. It's not a referendum, but therefore they can make me the referendum. And then on January 1, when I'm mayor, as I said,
You're running for mayor against Mike Spano. Obviously, everybody says, the Spano machine is tough, but you're very confident. You're saying when I'm mayor, you're tell me, how's your campaign going?
We're moving along nicely. I mean, we're trying to raise some money. MaranteBianca's.com, please. All of Freddie's followers. Get it, spread it out, share it. We need all the money we can get. If the money's coming, because right now this thing just happened the other day.
Right.
And this line gives me a big boost. It's a big boost. It's just this is where those Democrats and nons that may not run out and vote for a Republican will now come out and vote for restoring term limits indirectly.
So he's hoping that this line will give him a boost with Democrats who may not want to vote for a Republican will vote for the restore term limits line that he now created. It's an independent party. And so if you want to vote for Merante, but you're a Democrat and you just cannot vote for a Republican no matter what, even if your life depended on it, you cannot vote Republican because you are a Democrat. You can now vote for Merante on the Restore the Term Limit Party line. There you go. And I asked Merante, how does he intend on, beating the Spano machine? Spano beat both ladies, Reverend Coleman and Corazon Pineda Isaac, in the primaries by 68%. Had 68% of the votes. How does Merante intend on beating Spano? Well, he said that he's reaching out. And I said specifically, how do you intend on engaging those Democrats that don't know you, may not vote for you, but, you have to engage them to maybe get them to reconsider voting for you, specifically Blacks and Hispanics on the West Side. He said he's doing that by reaching out to various leaders, community leaders, church leaders, and other individuals, I guess, within the Black and Hispanic community in order to reach out to this community. I think that's going to be very important, Merante. You have to tap into the Hispanic and Black vote. You have to. And I think it's very wise for anyone looking to get into politics, any up and coming individual to tap into those who are not engaged, right? It's important. And I'm going to be looking to work on that in the near future. God willing, I can, finally get this thing together. I hope that it's going in the right direction and really, work to engage people who are not involved in the civics process, who do not know about what's going on in government and do not understand why it's important to be involved, to get involved, educate them so they are involved, register them to vote so they are involved, because there is a large demographic that do not get involved, right? That if you can ignite these individuals to get out there and vote, then you can really become a powerful force, right? But you have to engage these individuals, and a lot of them are Black and Hispanics, and they need to have a reason to come out. They need to feel like they are a part of the process, like they are being included, right? That's another reason why many Hispanics don't come out, because they don't see many Hispanics in the government, right? So Oh, Hispanic, we like to see our own people, right? You know, that's why you go into people's houses, Hispanics, especially my grandmother, you're going to always see Telemundo, right? On, you know, they're going to be watching the Spanish noticia, you know, la novela, because they like to just have that connection, right? So if they see more Hispanics, which we are a largely Hispanic city, they would be more engaged, right? And so this is important why we need to have more Hispanics in this government. We need more council members and even one day a mayor, or at least a deputy mayor that is Hispanic, that is educated, that speaks well, that will not unleash a verbal tirade on constituents during very important meetings. Someone that will represent us with pride, respect, you know, we can look up to, right? And they would then get involved more. They would want to vote more and be a part of that process. But it's very important that anyone wanting to beat the Spanos, especially beat Mike Spano, has to engage this demographic that's not really voting or that's disengaged, that was voting at one point, but they are just jaded with the overall process. They hear things like this with the Chris Johnson housing scandal and other things that we have recently heard in the news and Low HUD and Journal, and they just don't want to be a part of it, right? They're just tired of this shit. They're like, you know, I can't. This is Yonkers politics. You know how it is. We have to come out and change that. We have to come out and change that, right? And there's a lot of things that are happening that are working to try and put us in that direction. One of them is basement politics, right? Trying to change the direction and be less about, you know, the nonsense and be more about this, you know, and educating the public and speaking to folks about what really matters, right? And how do we actually make an impact? We do a lot of talking. How do we make an impact, right? And I'm slowly trying to get you guys to believe me, and you know, for those who don't, and you know, and see that I'm genuinely wanting to help this community, and that I'm not that person that these individuals are saying, because I think some people out there still believe in that stuff. So, you know, we have to do this together, right? Let's unite and let's actually, you know, make some impact. So again, anyone that wants to beat the Spano machine, you're going to have to get this whole demographic of voter that's not coming out for one reason or another, right? They got their voters. They know who's going to come out to vote. They're going to call them up and say, hey, don't forget, hey, get your team. Hey, get your 10, 11 so people. Go get them to the polls now. We need you to vote. And they're going to vote. This Mike Spano, the Spano administration, they're going to get those 8,000 or so people. They're going to vote for one reason or another. You know, they're going to vote for Spano. There's a reason why. And they're going to remind them in case they forget. So other people have to come out if you intend on beating Mike Spano. Otherwise, Spano's going to win, and you can't get mad at the Spanos. You can't be mad. Mike Spano again. He's cheating, this, that, and third. The reality is a lot of people are not coming out to vote. That's the reality, right? So it doesn't matter. It can't really talk about cheating when people are not coming out. Yonkers has an issue with low voter turnout. Absolutely. Check out Merante. You know, absolutely. And I want to talk about the Republican Party because I was out there today and I didn't see very many individuals from the Republican Party. I saw Ron Matton, right? Ron, for sure, diehard Republican. Here's another issue, right? Especially with the Republican Party. Your party is destroyed. To the true Republicans here in the city of Yonkers, either become a Democrat, I don't know, do something, because your party is destroyed. You don't have any true Republican leadership. Very few members of the Republican Party are actually part of the Republican Party, or actually for the Republican Party, right? And so you can tell when today Merante was out there for a cause that I believe many people are in support of, both Democrats and Republicans, but I didn't see many people out there, right? I didn't see a lot of people at all out there, anybody political really, voters, constituents. I didn't see a lot of people from the Republican Party, right? Where was John Larkin, the chair of the Republican Party? What's his name? I'll tell you right now in a minute. Right. Where was James Nolan's a Republican? Where was, whoever else, Republicans, where you guys are at, right? You guys are all split up. I did see, again, Bob, pardon me if I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Bob Stauff, how you said. He's been involved in politics for a very long time, and he can make it out there, okay? Then there's no excuse why no one else should have been out there, especially if you are a Republican, especially if you are for term limits. John Larkin. Yeah, where was John Larkin at? Where was what's the name? Tubiolo, right? Where was Tubiolo, the dad? Republican, right? No support for Merante. Check this out. Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano. This is an old article from May 22nd, but I want to read the comments. This is just to discuss or just further, state my point of the condition that the Republican Party is in, and really the overall condition of Yonkers politics, right? This is what it's all about here. So I read these comments just to give people an idea what's going on in politics. It's a blood sport. I've said this. It's a blood sport. They're really, mean people, really mean people, especially when they can hide behind these comments. But they say things that, it's just interesting sometimes. Merante is the most credible candidate. Unfortunately, the Yonkers GOP is supporting Spano. Former chairman Justin Tubiolo, again, he was not there. Justin Tubiolo is telling people in his church to vote for Spano. The acting chair, Rob Mofret, common law wife, is calling neighbors and telling them not to vote for Merante. The Yonkers Republican Party has gone the way of the Yonkers Conservative Party. Dead. So, people are talking about it. It's noticeable, right? It's noticeable when you go to these events, these press conferences where your Republican candidate, it's running for mayor. The Republican candidate running for mayor is holding a press conference. He's announcing, I don't know if that, this independent line, I don't know how the Republicans would feel about that, but whatever. He's still a Republican, right? He's running for mayor and he's not getting very much support from the Republicans, especially the big name Republicans. All right, what's going on with that? Look, the reality is Cuomo was supposed to be the next president. Look at what happened to him and his brother. Sooner or later, the Spanos would piss off the wrong person, and that will be it. Vinny told someone that as long as we win this, that's all that matters. Let's see if the fourth term curse happens. Time will tell. Carolyn, you mentioned that fourth term curse a lot. We'll see what happens. Spanos were wrong. Who knows? Maybe Chris Johnson might get, he's very pissed off right now, right? His wife is a senior aide to Letitia James, the Attorney General, right? Maybe he's going to be the guy because they're coming after him. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's not just the Spanos, right? It's not just the Spanos. So you can't always, if you just point out the Spanos, why I like to talk about different individuals, you're not really, analyzing or assessing what's going on clearly. There are other individuals also that play a role that, for one reason or another, they're able to do this and they have an impact, right? They have their own agendas. They have an impact. There are people that, can easily, change the course of things just by a simple vote no. But instead they continue to vote yes, right? So they have their own mind, they have their own independent way of thinking, and because they want something or they may be having receiving some form of benefit, there's something in it for them, that's all that matters, right? So we have to address those individuals too, and we'll see what happens in the future, in terms of pop. But I don't know. I think Spanos, it's like the Bushes, right? The Bushes have been in politics for a long time. There were the Kennedys at one point. A lot of individuals that are in politics, even at a national level, it's a family thing. It's so who knows? I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you want to be able to unseat someone like Spano, who has the resources, the money, the years in politics, right? I mean, they got this game down packed. They know it well. They've been playing it the best for a very long time. Now they basically, amend the game, right? They change up the game, right? So it's hard to keep up because now you can make the rules. You have to really come with a real well thought out campaign, and you have to factor in the individuals that are not voting, and you have to target them, and you have to bring a lot of money because you have to create a campaign that's going to really, announce you to the entire city and really hit people right, where, you know, it's going to get them to say, oh, I have to come out and vote for this person. I haven't voted in I don't know how long, 10 years, but I'm going to come out and vote for this person. Because as it stands now, the only people that are motivated to come out and vote are those individuals that support Spano. And so, you know, everyone supports Spano. That matters. That's what it seems like. And so, you know, you gotta, you know, you can't always, the Kennedy curse. Yeah, well, Kennedy was a good president, right? I thought he was the people's president. Nolan won't show up for that as he's a Spano supporter. You know, I seen James Nolan support Spano, holding up a Spano sign several years back. I'm not sure what year that was. Tubiolo doesn't care, period, unless it's a photo op. He's giving a proclamation, right? Look at the Kennedy curse. It's about the karma for doing so many things against those you should be protecting. You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really, you know, what I'm realizing, Carol. It's just it's a game. It truly is a game. You know, whatever you want to say, chess, this, that, and the third. Point is, it's a game, right? Everyone's a player. So everyone is playing some, you know, form in this game, and at the end of the day, people are not coming out, right? People are not motivated. Most people are not motivated to come out and do, you know, things that are the right things unless it gives them some kind of reward, right? Unless there's some benefit, unless there's something in it for them. That's just how we are. That's just human nature, right? We want a reward, right? We want a treat at the end of it, right? Like Pavlov's dog. You know what I'm saying? We've been conditioned, right? We've been conditioned, right? Pretty much, right? And so doing the right thing oftentimes doesn't give you a good reward. You know, you may not get nothing, you know, and sometimes you may get you know, things taken from you. You may end up, you know, in a bad place by doing the right thing. And so people are just not motivated. So it's a game. And so now you have to figure out, okay, how do you play this game? Because now you know this, right? People are not motivated to come out, right? And this is why I'm trying to stress how much that it does impact people. There is some kind of, you know, reward or something that you can get from it, right? If you do, but people don't see it, right? And so that's why I'm trying to educate people and show them how it impacts them. So until people are ready to come out, right, and be motivated to say, I'm going to go vote because, you know, I want to make this change, right? Until they believe it, they believe that it can happen, they see it, right? They're just not going to come out. And so you have to be smart about how you do things, right? And so you just can't blame the Spanos and be mad at them is what I'm saying, right? And I've always said this, right? Because you have so many other individuals that support what's happening. They support it. They support the way that things are. You know what I'm saying? So they're playing the game and they're playing it smart. And they're doing what probably most people would do, right? I don't know everything that people do, but to a certain extent, right? So if Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, the city council president, enters legislation and to extend term limits, yeah, if she's willing to do that, cool, I'm taking it, right? So that's what happened there. We have to depend on Lakeisha Collins Bellamy not to introduce that legislation, right? That's the issue there. And that's why I want people to understand more so than Spano, right? That's what I want to understand. That's key right there. That's key, you know, and because so many people who voted for Lakeisha, and look, Chris Johnson, she said Chris Johnson. I want to thank Chris Johnson and Keisha Skipper, right? They played the black hand. They played the identity politics thing, right? And look where it got them. Is Lakeisha standing up there for Chris Johnson right now? Is she standing up for her brother? She's standing up for the black man? No, she nowhere to be found. Silence, right? So this is what I'm saying. You got to be smart how you move, because then here you go. You Chris Johnson. Right? And nobody's got your back. And so we have to point that out, that this is not okay. This individual did this. So we can't always just blame Spano when you got people introduced. And then you got Shanae Williams, another black woman who's voting yes. Tasha Diaz, a black woman who's voting yes. So this is what they want. This is what they get. Because they could have, if they were smart, they could have said, yeah, we're going to get together and unite. Unity. Imagine that. Unity among black women. Imagine that. You see, there's power in that, but we seem to be afraid to exercise that. We don't want to get along with each other. Don't know why. But had they, this would have never happened. You may now be seeing possibly the next black or the first black mayor. What would have happened if that would not have been introduced, or Lakeisha would have introduced it and then they would have decided not to vote on it because they had the power. They had the 4 votes. They had 5 actually, right? It would have died. Who would then have entered the race? Who would then have been elected or voted on in the primary that happened last month? See what I'm saying? You had a Latina woman and you had a black woman. You had a Hispanic Puerto Rican guy, but y'all didn't, it's all right. Hopefully y'all get it one day. It's bigger than that. So you have to understand that, right? And then the voters came out and voted for her based on the fact that she was black. A lot of voters did. A lot of people went and supported Lakeisha. People were initially supporting certain people, and then they turned their back on those people to support the black candidate because that's what they wanted to see, the first black city council president. And it's sad that that's, how, the first black city council president, the legacy is going to be, right? And so you can't blame Mike Spano for that. You cannot. We got to put some responsibility on these 3 and 4 women. We have to put some responsibility on them and as well, and help people see why it's important to vote for the right person when you're voting for council in your district, and why it's important who is the council member representing other districts that you may not live in, but it still has an impact on you. So this is why it's important that we are actively involved and we are united. So again, right? So we have to do our part, right? Time to move on and use energy where it will be beneficial. We stood up to them, and that means something. Good people came together, but Hochul hanging out at Nick's house was telling. Kathy Hochul, the governor of the state of New York, she was at former Senator Nick Spano's house, and so that's what I'm saying, and so, this is a game, folks. We live in a world that is not really what you may think it is. It's not as, what it's, most people think is, it's a matrix. It really is. It's all an act, everybody's trying to get ahead. Everybody's playing their part, and so it's all about relationships and who you cool with, and they've built a strong relationship. And so I don't know how much impact, that's had. I know you're suggesting that because Hochul and Nick Spano have a relationship that impacted, the lawsuit that you guys had, the term limit lawsuit, because Hochul selected some of the judges. Although I think that's traditionally how it goes. The governor, makes the selection there. So I think, it just happened because she happened to be the governor. I don't know necessarily, but what, it could be, you never know, but again, I just don't, if it wasn't because I would believe you, or I would, be more willing to agree with you on that, Carolyn, if I didn't see, the wording, right? The verbiage, right? There is no direct impact. There isn't. He has to still be voted in. So technically the people could come out and vote for Merante or whoever else. And or in the primary, they could have came out and voted for Reverend Coleman or Corazon Pineda Isaac. And guess what? Mike Spano wouldn't be in the race anymore. But they didn't. That's my point, Carolyn. They did not. And yes, I think the biggest thing that you should get out of this is that you were willing to stand up, that you went and did it, and that you were strong enough and brave enough, right? And you did your part, right? Even though that didn't go all the way through, right, as you would like to have seen it, I think it still created momentum in the direction that you would like to see things go. I think at the very least, it's starting to put some accountability on our elected officials where they may be shaping up, I should say, a little bit, right? And, being more aware of what they're doing, right? But we have to continue to push harder and be consistent and come out to meetings. We have to be consistent, and we have to vote, and we have to understand what's going on. So that's what I'm saying. You know, it's up to us. I like to focus on what I can control. In this city, usually if you do the right thing, you get penalized. That's the truth. That is definitely the truth, right? They play it with taxpayer money. That is the problem. Lakeisha sold her soul. You know, that's what they'll say. Freddie Vasquez, they choose to have that legacy and must live with it forever, I would imagine. Yes. Yeah, you know, people, you know, choose. Pulling the Mike Cater endorsement not only got a Spano ally on the council, but also sent a message. We have a long reach. Yeah. Pulling the Mike Cater endorsement not only got a Spano ally on the council, but it also sent the message. We have a long reach. So let's debate that. What is the point of law if politicians can change them based on their needs? What is the point of voting if you don't exercise your right to vote? Another opportunity to exploit his enormous advantages as the incumbent is the benefit. Yeah, but see, again, there's always gonna, and I want to put it back on the people, because I want to really encourage people to say, you know what, we gotta do this. National politics, there's always going to be money. There's always going to be lobbying, right? Politicians get money. You know, that's always going to be, they're always going to have connections. They're going to start to, you know, develop these relationships with people, right? But it doesn't matter if the people come out to vote. Together, the people united, informed, right? Coming out to vote, being consistent can trump all that. Trumps all that. Doesn't matter how much money they got. Doesn't matter who they know, right? They're going to literally have to straight up just be, committing election fraud, right? They're going to have to go in those machines and literally change the numbers in order to defeat the people if the people come out and vote and they are united and they are informed. So they make an informed vote and they make the best vote, whichever that vote is. I'm just saying in general. That's always going to trump the money. That's always going to trump the connections. The people together, united, have all the power. We are not united. We are always disagreeing on things. We always debating each other. You know, we have an issue for one reason or another. You know, we have to put aside a lot of these petty things and see the bigger picture and what's going on here, just in general, where our society is headed, right? A lot of the changes have happened, you know, things that are going on with our kids, right? So we have to stick together more than ever. We, the people, have to do it. Forget the laws, forget the judges, forget the DAs, forget the DOJs, the FBIs. I think by now, if you haven't been noticing, a lot of that stuff is not, designed to work for the people, or at least not anymore, right? It's not anymore. I mean, I was watching a documentary last night, the other night. I mean, our government straight up killed the president, John F. Kennedy. And you're talking about Kennedy, right? You think they're for the people? They straight up killed John F. Kennedy. That's it. The CIA is involved. The Prescott Bush was involved, right? That had nothing to do with Oswald. He was literally a patsy, right? I'm sure he thought he was part of something going on there. They set him up to be there, right? But the guy who actually shot him, they actually put him into the Dallas Police Department like a month or so before they got him to. It's all corrupt. There's corruption everywhere. So it's up to the people, it's up to the people. You don't think that they know that? That's why people don't vote. Was it really 13 votes that Bream won by? I don't really know. That's what they say. But when it's that close, it's rather suspicious, right? And we know that there were people that admitted that they did not sign Bream's petition, although their name was on the petition, but they wanted no parts because they were scared, concerned, didn't want that attention. I don't know. But that's exactly what keeps us where we're at. We are all on our own and just unite and come out and vote. That's right. We are. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Will, thank you. I appreciate you. Folks, have a blessed day.
Jersey. Wondering why is it that anyway? They care where I live, whether I'm moving or not, whether my wife is going to divorce me or not. Why does anyone care? Could someone just ask the Yonkers voice why? Anyway, have a blessed day.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered, the one and only. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. This is where you will get the truth on what's going on in politics. And I'm going to give you the truth, even if you don't like it. We must be accountable. We have to come out and vote. Only we can make the change. It's not going to be Mimi Roca. It's not going to be Letitia James. It's going to be the people who make change. Consistent and united. Let's take a page from the French. Vive la French. Vive la France. Okay. That's why they're known for the revolution, revolting. Check them out. France don't play. The French don't play. See what's going on over there. They are united. They all got together and put yellow neon vest on and created a whole movement. And that's what Americans need to do. Put down the reality TV. Throw away your iPhone. If you are religious, turn your iPhone around. Look at the apple. What does that signify? When Eve bit the apple, she was given knowledge. Technology in your palm. The all-seeing eye phone that is watching you everywhere you go. Folks, wake up. I am Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. The only ones that are crazy are the ones that don't believe it.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie Vasquez here in Jersey. Wondering why is it that anyone would care about me? Why would they care where I live?
I was raised in housing.
Or not, whether my wife is going to divorce me or not. Why does anyone care?
I was raised in housing.
Could someone just ask the Yonkers voice why?
I was raised in housing.
Freddie wins. Fatality.